How do you organize your team?
Yeah, I already briefly introduced our departments. So there's 3 people in management, and we have 2 people, or now 3 actually, who help with external relations, so public relations, financial matters, and a partnership manager. And then we have our main engineering departments, so propulsion, who are responsible for the combustion chamber of the engine, the feed system that supplies the fuel and oxidizer to it. We have the structures department, which is really responsible for all the ground equipment that keeps the whole system together, like a thrust bench that keeps the engine attached and measures how much thrust we're producing. The tanks that hold our propellants, the tank cages that they sit in, and all the measurements connected to that. And then we have control and electronics, who do all of our measurements. They operate our Rio, which is basically like a flight computer, but for the ground testing. So that actually tells all the valves that are in our system what to do. It also logs all of our data, so we can actually get something out of our tests. And they also write a lot of the software code. So one thing about our engine is that it is thrust vector controlled, or is going to be thrust vector controlled, which means that we can actually move the engine, pivot it, so we can guide the rocket while it is flying. Well, the programming for that, the models that you have to make, and all the coding is also done by control and electronics. And then there's the turbo machinery team, which is new for this year. You might have heard of turbo pumps before, which are really important, especially when you go to higher altitudes for rockets. So far, our system has been pressure fed, but we want to move to a turbo pump system, which is not something we have done before, or I don't know if any other student teams have done it before, like at that altitude, but it is very, very tough. So we have a complete department who are just researching and building a prototype for a turbo pump for our engine. So that's how we're organized currently.
Do you have some remote members, and if you do, how can they work in the team?
So I think it's tricky because I think for a while everyone has been a remote member over the past few years because of Corona. So I do think the entire team has moved to a more online environment. Some aspects of it will remain probably forever, since they've shown to be quite efficient, and maybe other aspects will move, and we are moving back to in person. As of for every day-to-day communication, we have a Slack server which belongs to the society, and Slack is basically an app for, let's say, communication and documentation sharing, let's say. So it's basically a WhatsApp, but to a company level. So you can also create internal channels. You can organize yourself into teams, and you can have a secure communication as well. So that is the day-to-day of the society. In Sparrow, we usually, when we have to do online work sessions, we work on Discord, or we do Zoom meetings if we have to do, for example, with externals or something a bit more official. We also have labs, obviously, at the faculty, so in-person work happens at the faculty itself. For remote members, I would say we don't usually accept fully remote people. Usually members of Sparrow and there are students at TU Delft. So nobody is fully remote during their entire time. Obviously, if you need to go back home for your family, or you're on holidays, then we have the online tools. But yeah, in terms of other tools that we use, we usually use Miro a lot. Miro is a shared online whiteboard, if I can describe it somehow, where basically with your entire team you can work on the same online environment and then draw diagrams, for example, or sometimes we do the planning. Am I missing some other tools that we use? I think those are the main ones.
Yeah, I guess we work a lot in Notion as well with
Oh yeah,
as a sort of wiki
That's a big
slash
one.
library. And a lot of the departments use Agile management, so sprints. So that's how we organize our workflow a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So departments on their own organize themselves in Agile. And then our Notion server is really important. It's basically our documentation center where we have every workflow split when we can organize ourselves in a really visual way as well. So organize all the documents.